you have to be super crystal clear on your why. My why, not having a W-2 job when I retire, that's a part of my why. My why at the end of it, my big burning why, is that I want to be selfless and selfish with my time.
All right, welcome to the show, Travis. How are you today, man? You good?
I'm solid. I'm doing really good. Thanks for having me on.
Fantastic. Oh man, I'm excited to have you today. I get excited every time, and as I told you, I'm also nervous all the time. But this is part of what we do. And before we get started, I want to make sure everybody has context to who you are. Can you give me a breakdown who you are, what you do, Travis? Because I know, but I need the audience to know too.
Okay. My name's Travis Hill. I'm an active duty Marine stationed in Camp Pendleton, California. Approaching 19 and a half years, and I am a father of four, married for 19 years, and coming up on that anniversary. Yeah,
Uh-oh.
yeah, pretty sure.
Okay.
2004, right? That's
I
19.
like it. Yeah.
And, I'm a buy and hold investor. I've done private lending. I've done multifamily commercial flip.
Yep.
And, I just love real estate. My goal is not to have a W-2 job when I retire. And, I love real estate. I love the people in real estate. I love the game. I love chasing the deal. And I'm excited to make real estate a part of my lifetime legacy wealth building process.
Oh, fantastic. All right, let's hop right into it. And something you said that I think is key and really interesting for me because it's something that I'm after too. You said your goal is to not have to work after you get out and to be able to focus on this full time. So, what does that planning look like for you? What's that look like?
Yeah, great question. So I know how much my expenses are, and
Right.
my goal is to acquire properties that allow the net worth to grow so that my net worth, or sorry, my passive income each
Mhm.
month satisfies my expenses. Like it's that
Okay, so
simple.
it's really just a matter of your expenses versus what your income is with your real estate side of it, right?
Yeah. So let's say, for example, today's number, if I was to retire today, I'd bring in, I think, like 7 grand a month for waking up. Well, I know that my expenses, I know that right now I live on what, like 6 grand a month. So if I acquire properties that make me $10,000 a month of net cash flow, well, then I don't even need to touch my disability. I don't need to touch my pension. I can just live on what I make a month
So how do
from the
you
past
tackle
flow.
then the so then how do you tackle then the expenses that come with all the stuff you're doing, particularly because you're right now, are you focused on multifamily or is it single family you're focused on?
I have multifamily and single family.
Okay, got it. So with those, how do you account for those expenses and making sure that that number continues to thrive and doesn't get bogged down by the expenses of the event that you're doing?
Yeah, so that's where underwriting, right? You
Right.
have to be familiar with underwriting deals, and you have to find, like, for example, currently I bought a duplex in January.
Hmm.
I have rehabbed it. It rents now. Our gross rents are $29.90 a month, and then of
Right.
course you take out your property management fee, your taxes, your insurance. I used all cash. I used private money to buy it, so it's
Okay.
cash flowing like $1,900 a month. I'm in the process of refinancing it. So the $1,900 a month that we're clearing after all those expenses, and because I calculated capital expenditures,
Hmm.
repairs and maintenance, evictions, I've calculated that as an expense, but that money isn't coming out every month. That money is basically just sitting there in the case that something goes wrong. So if it's cash flowing $29.90 a month, I take those expenses out. It's net cash flowing $1,900 a month, but technically more
Okay.
because the repairs, the capex, the evictions, that money isn't being used every month. So that's what I do every single property. I just take a property, I run the numbers. The numbers make sense. I cash flow. I want a 10% cash on cash return. I want
Hmm.
to be able to make, if I used to be able to do $500 a door or a property, but
Not anymore.
the
Yeah.
climate has changed, the economic
Right.
conditions have changed. So if I'm cash flowing $200 or $300 a month
Hmm.
compared to the five in 10 years, I'm not going to care. Right. So things have definitely gotten
Got it.
tighter. So because of the economic uncertainty or not the economic changes, I have to acquire more properties to be able to get that number to rise, that monthly net income to rise every month. But, I'm not opposed to single family. I'm not opposed to residential multifamily. I'm not opposed to commercial multifamily.
Right.
It's all about just getting that number, just so that I can not have my expenses are paid for.
Right. Okay, so then it's yeah, so basically it's just less of a focus than it is a focus on real estate. That sounds weird, but your focus is not even real estate. Your focus is that number, hitting that number before you get out, is the way you want to go, right?
For my goal to achieve it, yes. But then as far as like, you know, I have what's the Jim Rohn quote, right? Like, help everybody else find everything they want. You're going to get everything you want. Like, I truly believe that. I love helping people. I love showing people the ladder and showing people like, hey, this is where I am on that. This is the rung I'm on that ladder, and you're
Mm-hmm.
like, here's the ladder. Here's a rung. Like I love talking to new investors, especially with us being in the military. There's so much ignorance. There's so much just not knowing. And all the command financial specialists and everybody you talk to is like, oh, stocks, securities, paper, like do all, like you just invest and do your
Yeah, they love
TAB,
that
do your
stuff.
TSP and your BRS, like you'll be good.
Right.
And it's while I contribute to my TSP,
Mm-hmm.
there's more things out there, and real estate can help you accelerate. Like, in the group that I'm in for Military to Millionaire, they've got like a guy, an Air Force captain just sold his multi-million dollar, like 8-digit short-term rental business. We've got active duty guys that, um, I mean, I could name guys on my squad: Adam Whitney, James Lascara, Tom Murray, Brandon Jenkins, Marty Tyler. Like all these guys are crushing it, and they're active duty on their own time, doing great things. Making. I've got another buddy who's making 6 digits a month, and he's a prior
Right.
recon Marine. It's so possible, and we don't know about it because we just aren't. We don't know. We don't know. We don't know.
Right. With new investors, do you say to them that they need to focus on one thing? Because for you, though I think you focus on one thing, that being your hitting your goal, right? But for you, it's kind of fluid. It sounds kind of fluid. You'll do multifamily, you'll do single family. Hey, you'll do mixed use if you can pull it off, right? Because your goal is that thing at the end of the show. But with somebody who's brand new, do you tell them just, hey, go pick a goal and go after that goal, or do you tell them, hey, you need to focus on flipping, wholesaling, or whatever it is?
Great question. I tell people to focus on their why. When they say, hey, I want to get into
Okay.
this, I'm like, what's your why?
Right.
Like, tell me, you have to be super crystal clear on your why. My why, not having a W 2 job when I retire, that's a part of my why. My why at the end of it, my big burning why, is that I want to be selfless and selfish with my time.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Selfish in the fact that I'm going to do what I want when I want, as long as I want to do it. But it's
Right.
selfless because I'm going to affect local and communities abroad. Like I see myself like going up to Big Bear and like cleaning trails for 6 months, and then going down to Brazil and training jiu-jitsu, and then like teaching kids how to
Love it.
speak English or doing service,
Right.
and then going to Bali and teaching English and surfing everything. Like that's my life that my wife and I have like, hey, this is what we want to do. And as our kids are in college, like how cool it is to be able to say, hey, we're over here in this country, come meet us, and then you're going to work with us for the summer, and then you go back. Right.
Mm.
I think that is a fulfilling life. I think that is a blessed life, and that you're impacting the world around you in a positive, enhanced way. Like it's good.
Yeah. That makes sense. I've always said personally, it's more about the time than it is about the money. Because what and you know this from being in the war room. You've been in the war room longer than I have, and military to millionaire, and you can attest to this. When you see the folks in there, in the groups that we join that are doing so much more, but it's not the money that they're enjoying; it's the freedom. Like you said, you could do what you want. You could get up right now, go out, and go surf, and come home and go to take a nap. You know what I mean? There's nothing better than a midday nap. I don't care what anybody says. It's great, right? So, yeah, that makes sense. Did your joining and being a part of the war room create that for you, or was that something that you had in your head, but you kind of really keyed in on once you joined the war room? Because they say your network impacts your life, and your network is your net worth, if you will. Do you feel like that's actually true? Did that really change things for you?
100%.
Mm-hmm.
I started investing. Quick backstory: I started investing in the early 2000s. Like I was 25 years old, had $1 million portfolio in Las Vegas, joined the Marine Corps, And by 2011, after 4 deployments, I had nothing. Like lost them all, short sold, didn't have the reserves. Like
Wow.
it was horrible. And so I lived through the recession. Like when Rod Cleve talks about losing 50 million, like I know what it's like to lose everything. I started over. Finding From Military to Millionaire, being introduced to Dave, and then joining my squad in the war room with Green Squad, and just there's would I still be successful? Yeah, because I'm a driven person that I want to take action and accomplish things. But
Right.
being in the war room, being and associating with people from Military to Millionaire, it has accelerated that growth, right? And I've been thinking long and hard about this because there's a lot of. I just got back from the war room meetup in Tampa, and I was sitting there listening to all these amazing people doing amazing things, and imposter syndrome, a little bit of jealousy, resentment, like those are all. I'm living in the gap, right? Like I'm like, why am I doing that? Like screw them. Like what makes them more, And it's such an easy human innate thing to do, to live in that gap instead of like, no, man, like at the end of the day, Travis, you're a Chief Officer 4 that's been in the Marine Corps 19 and a half years. You are taxed on $75,000 a year and you have 6 properties that are cash flowing and you have an $830,000 net worth. Like to be able to, and it's for some reason to talk about that is like considered taboo. And I'm like, no, man, like talk about it. I talk about it with my kids. I grew up not talking about money. My parents never talked about money, didn't invest and do anything. And it was like, oh, well, now you're talking about religion and politics. Like, no, man, like talk to your kids about money. My 12-year-old son just started a vending machine business 2 months ago. He's got 2 machines and he came to me with that. I have 2 girls and 2 boys. My other son's like, yeah, I'm just saving up money so I can put it toward a house I want to invest with. Like we talk about it. We have the cash flow quadrant. Like it's a thing. It's providing, it's educating because, it would be a shame that if my wife and I accumulated all this wealth and then I didn't pass proper stuff on to my children and all they do is expect a paycheck and they become ignorant themselves. Like that's a disservice.
That's wow, that's huge. The fact that your kids are they're kind of following your footsteps. But I'm betting money, even though you kind of implemented some things, most of the stuff that's impacted them has been your action more than anything else. Because you just said you were already there. You were already in that $1 million pocket before joining the Marine Corps. Everything disappeared and then you went back in. What was the mentality and the thought process when that happened? Because that's huge. Like that's got to be heartbreaking because you're like, hey, I'm there, and then poof, up in smoke, it's gone. How did that impact you then, and how does that change how you approach things now?
Great question. So the easiest way I can explain that is
right.
I was so focused on watching the ants crawl on the bark of my trees that I didn't see the forest fire around me. Right. I was just focused on.
Hold on, Travis. Hold on. You can't hit me with that kind of quote and just roll right through it. All right. Wait a second. Hold on. Go back. Okay. Say that one more time. Because I want to wrap my head around that one. Go again.
Okay. I was so obsessed with watching the ants crawl on the bark of my trees that I didn't see the forest fire around me.
Holy shit. I'm going to have to beat that.
It's not trademarked. You're fine.
Okay. Cool. All right. Tell me more. Go deeper. I need you to go deeper.
Okay.
Keep going.
So in the beginning, right? Like I would house hack and buy the second biggest house. And this is in Las Vegas, early 2000s, post college. House hack, and every phase release in a community, they add the price 10 grand, 5 or 10, 7 grand, whatever. So in phase 6, phase 7, I would just refinance because it had gone up $50, $60, $70, $80,000, rent that house out, go to another community and house hack it and do it again. Right. So I'm like, oh, this is sweet. Well, the problem was I was over leveraged. I was at 80, 90% LTV on my loan.
Right.
And I thought, man, when I'm 45, 50, these are going to be paid off. It's going to be great. Like I'm going to be swimming. It's going to be like $3,000 or $4,000 a house. And I didn't understand anything about when I talk about the forest fire, right? And I'm talking about like C-SPAN, the yield, the bond yield curve, like GDP, like macroeconomic stuff that I had no idea pre-BiggerPockets, pre-YouTube, pre-internet. I was just like, no, I just do my home, and that's my home. I just focus on my home and making sure it's good and be a good landlord and make sure my tenants are squared away. No idea that the bubble was, didn't even know what a bubble was, didn't know anything about any of that. And that's what it ended up costing me everything.
Wow. So how did you learn all of that? Because you spit out some stuff I haven't heard before. I mean, I've heard the bubble, but everything else before that, even I'm on this side, like, what's that? So how did you learn, and how are you educating yourself on all that stuff?
So after we lost our last house in 2011, I'm back for my second pump in Afghanistan, fourth one overall, early 30s, fourth kid on the way, and like, WTF, man? Like, what is going on in my life? We lived very Dave Ramsey. We did the whole beans and rice thing. We accumulate, like, we just started saving again, and we didn't invest again until 2018. Had I known now, I would have
Right.
only cried a week instead of 7 years. It started right back in 2011, and man, that was such a great year to buy on the way up.
Yeah.
Um, so I just learned that I needed to be aware of macroeconomics. I needed to be aware of you know how the market moves, how inflation. I needed to understand just the overall dynamics of the economy on a country like a U.S. scale,
Hmm.
so that I could, like, as officers, we look for upward, onward, and forward, right?
Right.
Our
Right.
obligation is to live in the future. Enlisted,
Yep.
they live in execution mode. They live in the now. Well, I was
Right.
so busy living in the now that I didn't see anything coming. So now I'm like,
Mm.
oh, well, let's listen to people that are smarter than me, that talk about economics, that have graphs.
Right.
There's so many good economic graphs and so much data that you can, like, start getting informed decisions. Bigger Pockets just published, institutional buyers are down. Like, oh, well, why are they down? Well, make some, rising interest rates. Rent's has been holding flat. That's across the U.S., but in my market where I am in Milwaukee and Cleveland, rents are going up. Right, rents are still moving.
Right. Right.
Property's still moving up, and so it's just getting the knowledge
Hmm.
so that you can make better informed decisions, and you don't you know only focus on the micro level.
So go deeper into that, Travis. You talked about how you focus on what's coming, how you're watching. Are you How are you doing that? Are you just watching CNN news all the time? Are you watching Bloomberg? Are you reading every book you get your hands on? Is it ESPN kind of stock tips in there? How does it ESPN doesn't do stock tips, people. I'm sorry. What is it you're doing to keep track of what's happening and to be able to project yourself and your thought process forward?
Yeah. So I listen to podcasts. I make
Okay.
sure that I'm reading reports. LinkedIn does a good job. People that I follow on LinkedIn, they're always posting about stuff.
Mm,
I listen. I just listen. Social media does a great job of providing knowledge. Um, so when I talk about C-SPAN, it's okay to
mhm.
listen for 30 minutes of the economic report. You find out what the Fed is doing, right? You understand and learn about what the interest rate's doing. And none of this stuff I even knew it existed when I first started out.
All right. So this next, and I paused because in my head I'm thinking about all the people that I look on when I initially started down this path on real estate and all this stuff, and who I'm watching and paying attention to now. I think it's interesting because you see our dynamic change over the social media platforms as you grow. Who are your kind of go-to people right now to find out and to hear and to learn more about? Because you're already on a higher level. So my thought process is somebody who's starting out can watch those same people and increase their knowledge to your level as well.
Okay. People that I listen to. Uh, I like the articles from Bigger Pockets.
Okay.
I like the articles, like, I follow Bill Allen on his podcast. He's very
Mm,
knowledgeable about what's going on, current events.
nice.
Um, what's the I forget the name, but it's two names, and they're always pumping out reports. Um,
Um, Marcus and Millie Chop?
Yep, that one.
Yeah,
They're good. A
Marcus and
lot
Millie
of their
Chop.
information is really good,
Got it.
and it's nothing crazy. It's not like a very deep pool that I pull from, but I'm
Right.
just more aware of it. And then
So, ooh. So before you continue, Travis, I think that's important. For those of you who are watching and listening, Travis just said it's not a deep pool. There's a reason it's not a deep pool, and I don't want to. I'm not going to explain that. I'm going to let Travis kind of detail why his pool is not wide and is deep. Travis, break down the thought process on wide versus deep when it comes to that part of it.
okay, um, it's not very deep because if you it's almost too many hands in the cookie jar, right? Like it spoils
Mm-hmm.
the whatever the old thing is of just too much stuff. You get so much information, which is so easy to do in today's world. You get so information that the
Right.
information only creates analysis paralysis and you don't execute. Having a shorter pool of people that you can pull from that, like, okay, yep, that makes sense to me. And
Yep.
I would say even having a couple people that you don't agree with, right? Like, what does the opposing view
Mm,
think, right? Oh, and the opposing view could be like, oh no, multifamily is totally fine. There's no issue. Like the bridge debt
right.
isn't going to come due. I
Right.
don't think that's true, but there's people out there that think it is, and that's okay.
I never thought about that part. I never thought to find people who I don't agree with. Just to have that juxtaposition of instead of yes, 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 nah, that guy's a dummy, or nah, I don't know. Well, maybe not say dummy. Don't that's negativity. People don't do that. But no, hey, I don't necessarily agree with that. But then have to break down to myself the thought process to why to prove
Hmm.
myself right or wrong. Because I do find that sometimes even when I think somebody's wrong, I look and I find out, ah, crap, they was right, and now I'm the one suffering because I didn't really look at that research. So I think that's important that you mentioned that. Now,
I think that goes across the entire spectrum, right? Politically,
absolutely.
more like the polarization that exists. Unfortunately, like I'm just going to go and skirt down that rabbit hole. Like, but the polarization, that we see on a social scale is just really it's too bad because the more it seems that we got to put people in, we got to put things, events, people, activities, like whatever. We have to put this
Right.
thing in a folder
Yeah.
and label it so that we can best instead of having honest, open communication. And I think that's one thing that I've really enjoyed about the Marine Corps is that I been able to openly discuss things that I don't agree with or things that I'm like, yeah, I know that exists, but I didn't understand it. Right. And it helps me, one, be a better officer, it helps me be a better leader, but it helps me be a better human because it helps me realize that the viewpoints that I have may or may not be correct, but they also can help me have better empathy and understanding of the people in the world around me.
There. This is where the Marine Corps is shining right now. Shout out to the Marine Corps and the U.S. military in general, just for the keys and stuff that we learned that we are oddly, clearly enough, applying to everything else we do in our lives. Now, you've done a lot, and one thing that I kind of admire about what you've done is how you have kept yourself open to it all just to get towards the goal. Because we often hear, like we said, hey, you can only focus on this, you can only focus on that. But that irritates the hell out of me. I don't know how you feel about it, but it drives me nuts. Because you'll get somebody who's brand new, which you and I were both at some point, and they were like, hey, you can only do wholesaling. Man, wholesaling sucked. I was terrible at wholesaling, right? But the good thing is, I kind of realized that you're kind of Batman with a utility belt. On your utility belt is all these things: wholesaling, flipping, cold calling, multifamily, storage, short-term rentals. But you have to build each piece of equipment on its own solo. I say all that to say, what has been your strategy when doing that? Because you didn't just start doing all of it. You did single or you did multifamily. How did you navigate that path to get where you are now?
Yeah, great question. So the shiny object syndrome, right? That's a total thing. It
Mm,
exists. But I
absolutely.
think that when we define our why and we get
Okay.
passionate about that why and we start taking action, the world becomes a different color. We see the world differently and we see opportunity that has always been there, or we now are able to see it for the first time in a way that we couldn't before, right? And having your why and understanding your why gives you the clarity to really see that. Um, you know, If my son 10 years ago would have come to me and said, "Hey, Dad, let's do a vending machine," I'd been like, "Oh man, like that's crap." But now, now that I embrace that and my mindset's different, I'm like, dude, let's freaking do that. Let's crush it, man. Like, it was beautiful to say, "Hey, son, there's kids, there's people twice your age." He's 12. There's people twice your age graduating college with college debt who are having a degree in business that have no freaking clue, and you're already 2 months in and you're 12 years earlier.
Right.
Right? Like, that's power. It's
That's
huge.
That's
It's
huge.
massive. And to be able to take that moving forward is, you know, I saw an opportunity
Right.
to do some private lending with somebody, and I had to like research about private lending. What are usury laws in that state? How can that affect me? What is the minimum? Like the Federal Reserve has a minimum you can lend. How do I position myself so I'm best safe in the case everything goes like? That's the joy of learning, and it becomes you're eager and you're excited because you're like, that's an opportunity. Well, now that I saved up and I sold a property and I have this extra property, this money, I can use this. It can work instead of just sitting in the account. Um, you know, having single family, like Brandon Turner talks about how you build that bridge, right? And you got to start and you build a bridge all the way. Well, I can build a bridge on single family properties in my market, but I can also build a bridge talking to brokers and talking to direct to seller and doing a marketing campaign. Like those are all bridges that I'm building. But that doesn't mean that you're hyper focused on just building the one bridge. You totally can. But I think that like kind of puts blinders on your like seeing opportunity, because opportunity is everywhere. And if you just want to be looking for it, the like take for example, perfect example, we short-term arbitrage. Do you know what that is?
Yes, but
Okay.
no. So like, I know the short term arbitrage is in. You'll go and you'll find somebody who owns, let's say, an apartment or a condo,
Yep.
and you will talk to them, and it's basically almost like Airbnb being their property, as opposed to you going to get a brand new property.
Correct. Yep. And
Okay.
you can do it apartments or short term. Like there's companies out there that do arbitrage just for the owner. So it's like, I don't want to mess with all that. Okay, cool. We'll do it for X. So I found a vending machine guy that had been in the business for like 30 years. He lives in Fallbrook, which is an hour away from me. He bought a route. It's called the route. And he has, I don't know how many units he has, but we live in San Clemente and his route is an Orange County area. And he's like, "Man, I live in Fallbrook, like it's an hour away, but it was a really good price and it was kind of worked out." And I said, "Hey, look, we live an hour ahead of you. Do you know what arbitrage is?" He's like, "No, I have no idea." I explained the exact same thing that you just explained to him. I said, "You know my son and I, you understand what we're doing. You've been with me for, like you've we've spent probably a good like 12, 15 hours to get all already." I said, "Would you be interested in doing an arbitrage thing with the vending machine?" And he's like, "Yeah, I think I could totally work." Right?
Mm.
If I didn't know about that, I wouldn't have even think like, boom, opportunity. There's an opportunity for my
Right.
son to take a portion of something by doing some work. And now he's a part and he's gaining that more income because he's going to arbitrage that guy's vending machine service.
Got it.
Okay, awesome. Right? That's opportunity. Like my mind is
Hmm.
programmed to see that opportunity.
Right.
Um, Here on Camp Pendleton, there's 6 digits of Marines, families, contractors. I have civilian friends that own businesses that have no clue how to get on base, nor do they want to get on base. They have a service, they have a product. There's a lot of people that I know how to execute that. I know their mindset. How can I work on make that opportunity to get a portion of X?
Mm.
Right? My grandpa
Right.
told me a long time ago, he's like, always look for value. Find value first, and the money will always follow. If you look for money first, you're never going to have the value necessary, but the value will always create the income.
Right. That is. It's interesting. I had a conversation. I think you and I talked about this before, but how quickly everything opens up once you open your mind to anything in the ladder of, hey, I'd like to do this. As soon as you start looking into it and really understanding and learning the game of whatever it is, you start to see everything. I remember driving and looking at. I was at HRC at Fort Knox, Kentucky. And at HRC, I had to get my desk risen, right? This is a weird story. I'm going to go off a little tangent, people, so hang on. So they said, hey, call this number. I called the number, happened to be a fraternity brother of mine. Shout out to the Sigmas. And I said, hey, man, I need to get this desk raised. He said, okay, give me a couple minutes. I'll call you back. He called me back a couple more minutes later. He's like, hey, the guy will be there on Tuesday. It's going to be a little expensive, but we can make it happen. It'll be under budget. I said, what do you mean? It's a single screw. How is this expensive? He said, it's $800 to get the guy to come up there and replace a screw. $300 for the screw itself. I said, what? I said, it's $300 for the screw, $800 for him to come up and do it. He was like, yeah. So I'm like, all right, explain this to me. So apparently, these screws are proprietary. So what happens is the company gives the government this desk, and then from there, they say, all right, well, this particular piece can't be replaced by anybody else. It's only our screw and patented to us. So what they do is that they make that the key piece of the desk. Either it raises or lowers, or it's the one thing that holds all the drawers together, whatever it might be. So when you call them, they are about to make a good chunk of change off of a 35-cent piece, which is mind-blowing. So now everywhere I go, I'm looking at screws, I'm looking at boards, and it's just crazy because there's money to be made everywhere. And we often get caught in the minutia of, oh, what are we going to call it? Or, oh, how's this color? And none of that matters because there's a company called Google out there. Who knew somebody be able to make up a word? And here we are all using it. So a very long tangent to go to. I agree with you. It's nuts how quickly everything opens up. With that being said, though, you talked about all the stuff that you do with your son. You talked about the girls, you've talked about all the stuff you're doing in real estate, but how are you balancing that and these new opportunities? Because you see them coming, you see where they are. What makes it something you're going to go after versus something you're going to turn down? As the anti-squirrel syndrome, if you will. How do you do that?
Yeah, I personally don't think there is balance. I don't think balance really exists. I think it's a way for us to rationalize in our brain that we're engaged. It's a trade-off, right? It's a straight opportunity cost from an economics point of view. If I'm going to stay up late and practice, run the numbers on a deal or get up early, I get up at 4:30 every morning and run through deals, right? Work on it. And that's a trade-off to what? Sleep. If I don't go to the gym because I'm working on some paperwork or I'm working on some underwriting on a property during lunch, that's a trade-off, right? That's an opportunity cost. And, it's not about the balance. Now, do I need to sharpen the saw? Yeah, that's my balance, right? Surfing, the gym, jiu-jitsu, I'm sharpening the saw there. But when I try to be very deliberate with my time. So when it's my family time, then I don't think about real estate. It's poof, real estate, I don't care. If I get a call from my PM during the time with my family, I just don't answer it. It's okay. It's totally all right.
That makes sense. All right. I want to be respectful of your time, and I definitely want to get the game show in because that's one of my favorite parts. So let's put a little bit of a button in this. So let's head right into the Troop to Task. So for those of you who are listening and watching, what Troop to Task is that Travis is going to give you one thing you can do right now to get yourself moving down the right path or the path that he's on, where he's doing multifamily, he's doing single family, he's doing flips, he's doing vending machines. He's going to give you one thing you can do right now to get started down that path. Travis, what is this week's Troop to Task?
Troop to Task is mindset. Understand that you are capable, that you are enough, and that you have the self-worth capable of improving your position, improving your fighting hole right now. You can start right now today. And if you're a young service member living in the barracks and you're like, man, Travis, you're married, you're an officer. No, man, you're enlisted. I did it enlisted. You have to make the mindset and know that you can do it. Get off the PS5. Get off freaking moping around the barracks. Read a book. Go to YouTube. Join From Military to Millionaire. Find like-minded people and manifest to the world that this is what you're going to do. Mindset first. Mindset.
I love it. It's funny how we all have the same voice for that soldier who's sitting inside. It's always that. It's always that. In addition to that, listen, shout out to Multifamily to Millionaire, and I'm going to put that. Multifamily, military to millionaire, not multifamily military to millionaire. Dave Perret, a huge project that he started umpteen years ago, and now has turned into a bunch of other stuff, including the War Room as well, which I'll put the link to all that in the show notes and on the YouTube channel at the base. Now, what we're going to go to is our hot seat game. And before we do that, I want to make sure you guys are able to get a hold of Travis. So Travis, could you break down how to reach out to you, how to get in contact with you?
Absolutely. So on Instagram, you can find me at Travis Hill 1310. You can find me on Travis Hill on LinkedIn. You can also reach out to Valkyrie Investment Group, which we talk about syndicating multifamily. We also talk about a syndication fund, and that's VALKERE Investment Fund. And we love talking about short-term rentals. We love talking about apartment syndications, and we love just educating people around us. And again, super stoked to be able to be here today with you, Oliver. And it's been such a beautiful, talking about all the stuff that we've talked about from a positive standpoint and understanding what the military provides to us. And, I'm happy. Again, your success is my happiness is a mantra that I truly believe in, right? Even if all I get to do is show you the ladder, and that's the only thing, you're like, yep, there it is. At least you're orientated, your left and right lateral limits, and then you can orientate and take effective action as necessary.
I love it. I appreciate you coming on, man. This has been absolutely phenomenal. And we're not going to say goodbye yet. We're going to get right into our game next. So, all right. God, I'm discombobulated today. All right, Travis, here we go. I'm going to do the intro to the show, and we're going to get right into it. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Real Estate from the Foxhole. And today we have another amazing guest for you. Today's guest is Mr. Travis Hill, and he will be helping us along the way as we talk about all these great things. And on today's show, we're going to ask him 5 questions. I'm going to answer them with them, and we're going to have ourselves a good time. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Travis Hill.
Appreciate
Mr.
it.
Hill,
thanks so much.
We're excited to have you, man. We're excited to have you. So let's hop right into it. First question for you, Travis. If you were an Amazon item, what would you be and why?
Wow, that is a fantastic question from left field.
Yes.
If I'm an Amazon item, what would I be and why?
And why?
Holy cow. I would be a vase. I would be a vase that you could buy.
Okay.
Because the vase could be filled with something that you enjoy, that you admire, that you want to look at. Plus, the vase itself is something that is aesthetically pleasing, and you can put it anywhere in the house.
Man, that's a pretty good answer. That's a really good answer. Damn, I didn't think that's pretty good. All right. Okay. All right. I'm not revising mine. Listen, I want to be one of the squishy toys. But I want to be the squishy toy that can never tear, can never rip. You're always sitting at your desk doing this. When that guy comes in or gal comes in and they just drive you nuts, you grab the squishy toy, you're squishing it. There's something oddly satisfying and soft and relief, you know what I mean, that gets that off you. And I feel like I want to be that relief for people. So people don't, I'm frustrated. I'm gonna watch Real Estate from the Foxhole, and it brightens your day up, right? That's what I want to be.
There you go.
All right, next question, Travis. Next question. If you want an all-expense-paid vacation to go anywhere in the world, where would you go? Hard-hitting questions today.
I love it, man. It's got to on your toes. If I want an all-expense-paid vacation, where would I go?
Where would you go?
I would go. Is like geographically or just like one place?
I don't know. You tell me.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go geographically.
Okay.
I would go to the Orient. I am fascinated. Like I grew up as a kid watching all the kung fu movies, where it's like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
love it. The cinematography, the fact that everybody is just the best, like plugs into the Matrix, learning all the kung fu every single time.
Mm-hmm.
So I love the Orient. I love the culture. I love the customs. I love the architecture. I love that they like The Last Samurai, one of my best films. Like one of the best films I love to watch.
Really?
Oh yeah, love it. Red Cliff, fantastic movie about tactics. Super, super good.
Okay.
There's 13 Assassins, super good. Like there's so many Asian films that are like super, super good.
Yeah.
And it's just like the intensity and the passion. It's so much better than like watching soap operas in Telemundo, right? It's so much better. And yeah, I'd go to the Orient and just enjoy all of that Orient has to offer.
You know what? I'm going to double up with you on that. I thoroughly, and I've said this before, but I'll say it again. I thoroughly enjoyed living in Japan when I was there for a little bit. I feel like 6 months, 7 months, something like that. But the craziest thing to me was the people in the area, their passion for whatever they were doing. Like I was going to McDonald's and stuff like that. I went to McDonald's, man. That was the best burger I had ever had. Yes. I was like, why is this burger so good? It's McDonald's, but my man is in the back chopping it up, flipping stuff. My man, I thought he kicked a bun at one point. I was like, this guy is nuts. Like he was on point. He was the greatest cook I have ever seen at that time. And he was working at McDonald's and he was just in love with it. Went to go get ice cream and they sang a whole song for us and they were excited about it. Now, I'm sure some of that's false motivation, as we all know is a thing, but the fact that those people were so driven by it, and there was just so many cool things that I enjoyed seeing there that I love to see again. So I'm with you. I'll double up on that.
Did you get a chance to see a baseball game? Like go to a stadium and watch a baseball game?
Oh, bro, I went to a soccer game. I went to Tokyo FC played I think they played Gamba. I think that's the team's name, Gamba FC. But they played them and like when I say yelling, everybody was yelling. The ball hadn't even touched the pitch yet and they were just they was just screaming. And there's like people dressed up as sushi. There was one guy dressed up as like a rice bowl, a rice bun or something like that. And I was like, this is nuts. But it was a good time. We had a blast. But I did not, unfortunately, get to go to a baseball game. I tried to make it one, and I could not. I wanted to go see the Tigers play, and I couldn't.
Yeah, it's epic. Like they have a band. They have like they have a dance routine. They have cheerleaders. Like it is, and like when somebody strikes out,
right?
But like both sides clap. Like, oh, that was like good job. Like good job pitching. Good job on the hitter. Like, oh yeah, you guys did good.
Right.
Like it is. It's awesome. It is awesome.
Right, and it's not like, here's what's interesting. It's not like they're bad players. Like you see some Japanese guys who are balling, and they've come over here and taken over. Otani right now is killing it. Who was it before? Played for the Mariners. Why am I blanking on his name?
Yeah, starts with an M.
Oh, I'm gonna kill myself later because this is
really that guy,
and I'm gonna put this out unedited. All right, I can't remember his name off of my life right now. Oh, and I love him to death. What is his name? It's gonna drive me nuts. I'll think of it later. But yes, I say all that. Say yeah, I'm definitely gonna get to see them play at some point. I'll go back. All right, next question. This one is a little bit fun. So, what future Come on, Ollie, get it out, baby. What future invention are you really looking forward to? What future invention are you really looking forward to?
What future invention am I looking forward to?
Yes.
Wow. That is a tough question. What future invention?
Mm-hmm. What future invention are you looking forward to? Here, while you think, I got one.
Okay.
So this is the future invention. Is when I read it. This is what I'm looking forward to. This is not planned. This is off the top of my head. I am looking forward to seeing temperature controlled pants. right? So like I can go golf, and let's say it's cold outside, right? Turn my little belt up a little bit, turn maybe it's the front knob, turn it up a little bit, and now my pants are warm, right? I don't know how that would work, but my pants would be warm. It'd be like Sleep Number pants. The pants would adjust to my comfort level, right? If it starts getting moisture from the inside, all right, we gotta bring the temperature down, right? If I start shivering, it feels goosebumps. All right, temperature's got to come up.
I definitely don't. I don't recommend wearing those on your speed dating app. Then that would not
No.
be like it's a first date. Oh crap! I got the wrong pants.
Right.
Why are you sweating? Oh, my knob's broken. I don't know what to do.
No, not the knob's broken. She'd be so confused. Wait, the knob's broken.
Is it always been broken? No, it just happened. Oh wait, what?
Just-
Are you
just now.
awkward?
Oh, too good. Too good. All right. What about you, Travis?
All right.
What future things you looking forward to?
When you said that, the first thing that flashed into my mind was Big Hero 6. Is that the right Big Hero 6?
Yes. Yeah, the one with the inflated guy with his little helmet.
Yeah. The whole the nanotechnology thing, like the bad guy, that what he was able to do, like that's amazing. I think that is incredible.
Yeah, it is. I wonder how far we're off from that already, to be honest.
I don't know, but I think that would be amazing to just like from surfboards to like just get in and be like, hey, make a dwelling or make this, or I need to make this, or hey, support this, and it would just do it.
Zip, it's up there. Yeah, that would be cool. All right, next question, Travis. This one's a little bit more serious. Sorry.
Hold on. Let me adjust my knob. I gotta get the moisture out.
Turn your knob down. All right. Okay. All right. What advice would you give your younger self?
I would tell myself, kind of mentioned it earlier, I would tell myself that you're good enough. I would tell myself to love you, and I would tell myself that I am capable, even though you think you're not. And I would tell myself to breathe. And I would tell myself that you are loved by your family, by your Heavenly Father, and that you can accomplish hard things. And when those hard things come about, that it helps you cherish the good things. And I would tell myself in closing that learning how to be mindful and empty-minded sooner in life would make your life a lot more peaceful and capable and more greater capacity.
I like it. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Travis Hill. Travis, that's phenomenal and a hell of a way to close out. So with that said, you guys know how to get a hold of Travis. I want to do one thing before we go. I want to tell you, remember, you're better than you were, but you're not half as good as you're going to be. We love you. Enjoy the rest of the day. Go kill it and punch the rest of your day in the face.